Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Welcome back, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
If you are on YouTube, you're seeing a QR code in the corner. We've talked about it in the last few episodes, so we're done. Just go ahead and scan it.
It's there.
And if you didn't hear us talk about it in the last few episodes, where you been? Come back and listen to the last few episodes.
Yeah, they're really good ones, too.
Yeah, there you go. So there are people listening to us from all over the world and the United States. Allison,
Yes.
why don't we recognize
Yes.
some of those people?
We are recognizing Taiwan today. Hello, everybody in Taiwan and Louisville, Kentucky.
UK, now you have a mission, people of Taiwan and Louisville, Kentucky, to spread the word about this podcast.
Yes, you do.
Thank you for being among our preschool peeps.
Yay.
You have to see when we look at these stats, we get such a kick.
I know, because it's quite amazing that people around the world are listening to us and people around our country. It's amazing.
I mean, we're just sitting here in my home doing this.
Yeah, I know.
We have no idea. But we thank you for being among our peeps and for listening.
Yes, an idea that happened at a restaurant.
Yes, it was an idea that happened at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And here we are.
What is it, 7 years?
Almost 7 years later. I think it's 6.5. We started in June.
Oh, no. So so it's almost 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This episode
Crazy.
should be published to the world on May 12th.
Oh, yeah, then almost 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible.
Crazy.
In the 7 years that we've been doing this, there's some things that have changed which are wonderful.
Yeah.
There are some things that have not changed that are wonderful, that should stay the way they are.
Yes, it's nice.
There are also things that we just want it to stop.
Please
and that's
stop.
what we're here to talk.
Please stop.
And I don't know if you all have experienced an uptick in recognizing what I'm going to describe, but it occurred to me one day. I was visiting an early childhood program, and I'm just hearing so much of this. And when I talk to people too, I'm just hearing so much of it. And it is what it says in the title for this episode. It is basically name calling. It is people talking about the hitter, the biter, the climber, what else?
Scratcher, the
fidgety kid,
nervous Nelly.
Oh yeah, the nervous
nervous
kid,
Nelly,
the
yeah.
shy
The
child,
shy kid, the loud one,
yeah,
the quiet one.
She's the shy one,
Yeah.
he's the loud one.
Yep.
Can we please
just stop?
please?
Stop.
And it occurs to me when Alice and I were talking about this topic, because it actually has been kind of a hot topic in the early childhood world, because it just keeps going.
It never ends.
It just never ends. It occurs to me that we do things like this to children that we would not tolerate as adults. Or we don't, maybe, it happens and we don't like it. We don't like it.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I want you to think about the people you've worked with, folks. I'm pretty sure that among those people, there's the loudmouth, the gossiper,
The brown noser.
the brown noser.
Not the words I would use, but yes, the brown noser.
Yes. What else have we got on your staffs, folks? I can't say the one I'm thinking of. There's and then there's the quiet one. The
antisocial one.
The antisocial one.
Usually me.
We all are different types of
Yes.
people, right?
Yes.
I don't often hear people walking in a hallway or attending professional development or being in a room with other people kind of saying, well, she's this one. Because if the other adult hears it,
Yeah.
there's going to be trouble. The reason we can get away with this with young children for so many decades now
Yeah.
is because we hold some power over young children.
Right.
Think about it. I can stand somewhere and say, this biter in my class.
And they might not know that you're talking about them.
even if they do, how much power do they have
Right.
to defend themselves? Or
Right.
even when the children aren't there, right? And let's say I am facilitating a professional development session, and that session is about behavior. It often is, right?
Yeah.
That session is about behavior. What's interesting to me is that when I'm talking to professionals, they talk about the biter, they talk about the hitter, the
hitter.
climber, the runner. I get the runner a
The
lot.
scratcher.
I can't do that because
Yeah.
we have a runner.
Yes.
I hear that a lot from the professionals. When you talk to the families, that's not how they talk about the children.
No. It's almost
Even
like
each other's children.
okay. Do you think it's
They'll
almost
say like she bites, but not, ooh, she's
the
a
biter?
biter.
Do you think it's kind of, now this is like really wrong, but like, do you think it's kind of like shop talk? Like how people like, you know what I mean by that, like locker room talk, like that kind of like professionals get together and they're like, oh, that's how I describe it, but it's wrong.
Well, I just want people to remember that a child who is hitting, biting,
It's someone's
they're
child.
struggling, and they're someone's child.
Okay.
And
Someone's child.
that child is struggling because all behavior is communication,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So this child who is biting other children, hitting other children, pushing other children,
Yep.
that child is struggling.
Right.
They're not trying to be aggressive. The aggression communicates that they need help in some way.
But I don't understand why, as a teacher, like you don't, like I always want, even if they are biting, hitting, scratching, whatever they're doing, whatever the behavior is that they're communicating to me, why wouldn't I want them to succeed? So why wouldn't I help them rather than just sit there and label them and name call them and be like, oh, we can't do anything in this class because this boy runs or whatever it is. Like,
I think
no,
there are
like, fix the situation.
I think
You
there are
know?
situations in which the adults have tried strategies and techniques and it's not working.
And it's not working.
And so the adults get frustrated. I totally
yeah,
get that.
I
It's
get
very
that.
hard when your strategies are not working, when you've learned strategies,
Yeah.
you've taken the time to try, you've tried over and over,
Right.
and this is not working. And I think the adults then can't figure out what is the struggle cry from these children. What are they struggling with? When we can't figure it out, I think it's a natural instinct to go, well, you know, that child is just,
He's
that
just
child's
a
a hitter.
runner.
This child is
just
just,
anxious.
there's nothing I can do. When that's never true. There's
Yeah,
always
there's
something
always
we
something
can
you can
do.
do.
It just
Ask
strikes me
someone
we
else.
don't do this with adults. We do this with children. There are so many things that we do to and with children only because we hold power over them. We are in a position of
Yes.
power
Okay, and I think
that we would
I
never do
just-
to another adult.
But that's true because I just read something about when you're in a family, say it's a holiday, say it's
Okay.
Christmas, and families use some things against their children to get a laugh at the dinner table, like reveal their embarrassing moments or say stuff that the child doesn't want revealed because it's a private matter. But to get a laugh with the adults, that's what they do, and it's because you, as the adult, have power over this kid at the Christmas table or the holiday table or whatever it is at the holiday event, and like that's wrong. You know?
Maybe this episode, and as we are on here, I may be changing the title of this episode. Maybe as we talk about this episode is really about just because we have power doesn't mean that we should be doing things that we wouldn't do with another adult.
You shouldn't be using your power. You shouldn't be using your power against anyone, period.
Don't you think it's a natural animal instinct that when you have some power, you use it? The question is, how are we using it? There are things that we say about children, to children, and a tone of voice that we use sometimes I would never do with an adult. If you would not speak to another adult that way, please don't do it with the children.
Yes, it's true.
It's not right to wield our power that way.
Right.
You know, in order for children to learn what we said on the last episode, which was moral development.
Yeah.
In order for them to develop in good ways in their moral development, they have to have seen it modeled.
Yes.
They have to have witnessed it,
Yes.
you know.
Well, and I think when you start calling them names in front of them, right, it becomes their internal dialogue. Like, oh, I'm the worrier.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the bad one, or I'm the runner, you know, and now they're like, well, I'll just fulfill that prophecy then. That's what I'll be. And that's what they think they are. And they think they
true.
can't change it,
That's true.
you know?
I think we have to be aware when we are doing this.
Yeah.
When we are treating children with less respect than we would treat any adult.
Yep.
Right? Or less caution. I don't want to call it fear. There are certain adults that I am more cautious with than others because I've learned about them that they may be sensitive people.
Yeah.
They may be don't have the same sense of humor that I do. And so if I say something that I think is funny, they're going to find it insulting or offensive in some way.
Yeah.
You know, I think we need to realize that we do this too frequently.
Yeah.
With children. And no, they are not the hitter, the biter, the pusher, the runner, the climber. They
Screamer.
they are, I believe, young children are always doing their best in this situation. And sometimes their best isn't what we want to see.
No. Yeah.
But that's their best right now.
Yeah.
The question for us is, especially when we know the child knows this isn't acceptable behavior, why in this moment is this the child's best?
Yeah.
What has happened
Right.
that this is the maximum amount of logic and behavior and cause and effect that this child can exhibit to me?
Right.
Right?
Right.
What has happened to cause this to be the top? I think instead of looking at this is just this behavior today, child is abysmal. Instead of looking at that, we need to say this is the child's best behavior today.
Right.
Why is that?
Okay, so like as an adult, when I see, I work with other adults, I'm like, oh, they're just having a bad day.
Do
right?
you though?
No, typically I don't talk to people. But most times when it's an adult, people are like, they're having a bad day. Like if you see somebody like yelling or whatever, you're like, wow, they're having a bad day. But when it comes to kids, I'm never like, they're having a bad day today. Like maybe if this is their best today, why? And why can't I turn their day around somehow to make this a good day? Instead, it's just like, he's a biter, and there is no even trying to get him to have a good day. There's no trying to get them to do better. It's just, that's who they are. Why?
It's not who they are. It's their behavior.
But that's what people are saying, right? That's what when you label somebody, when you give them a label like that, it sticks.
When I think about the word label, I think about how many families are afraid of having their children evaluated for services because they're afraid of the label. And part of that fear of the label comes from our own systems.
Yeah.
Because they know we label people.
Yeah.
And we can't do it.
People.
You're not one thing. No human being is one thing. These children are not one
person
thing.
In front of every single person. Like I'm not the same with my family as I am with Cindy. Okay? I'm not the same at work as I'm necessarily with Cindy. Like I'm a different person everywhere I go.
And the children are not just one thing.
Right.
They are not just a runner. This child has gifts and talents and we have to tap into all that. Yeah. I hope that maybe we will leave the title the way it was. I hope you will think about the name calling.
Yes.
The
labeling,
the tone of voice, the approach, the facial expressions, the gestures, and the things that we do either as families or educators when in our interactions with children, simply because we're bigger and taller and we hold more power in the space. Yeah. It's not okay to do that.
Okay.
I remember teaching when I was a director, I remember teaching members, especially new members of the staff, that when a child does something and you need to talk to them about it, you need to get down to their level. Yeah. Don't tower over them. Right? And that's sort of a newbie mistake, the towering over them. And I always say, don't tower over them. You can have a much more productive conversation with these children about their behavior when you get down to their level. Yeah. And if you've spent any time working with young children, you learn that.
Yeah.
I need to get down to their level. I need to sit in the tiny little chair and be sort of face-to-face level with them rather than standing over them, because standing over them is very intimidating. Right. Like imagine if you were in a room, you did something wrong, which we all do things wrong. Yep. You did something wrong, and then this giant human being comes in and towers over you and talks in a loud, deep voice to you. It would be very scary and intimidating.
Yes.
Right? So we don't want to intimidate the children that way either.
Right, because you want to have a good, solid discussion about what's going on. When you're towering and intimidating, they're just going to agree with anything you say just to get them out of your face, right? Just to get out of out of there.
I
like
think
that's what, like, okay, whatever you need, I'm out. Like, I don't want you by me anymore, right? So if you want to actually have a discussion to make things better, to help this child, then you need to be on their level.
And I think towering over children and towering over them. Let's like sort of keep that image, right? Yeah. It's not only physical. It's also auditory.
It's tone of voice.
Yeah. We tower over children in so many ways, which in an emergency situation you have to do, right?
Yes.
If it is not an emergency, we really need to be more mindful of it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I would love to have like a month of my work go by with no one saying things like the climber, the biter, the runner.
I wonder if you could start keeping track.
I should start keeping track and
It's
report
been
back.
0 days since somebody.
I could start keeping track, and I could let you all know what was my longest
Should be
streak.
Interesting. We'll have a little like log on the website.
Yeah, what was my longest streak? Goodness.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to let you go ponder that. Not only about the children you work with, because you may know all this, and you may be thinking, yes, I do all this. Doesn't everybody? Or I know this, or I act in the right way. Not only for that, but just reflect. Just sit and reflect and think about your own childhood. How did it make you feel when people were name calling, towering over, and doing all those things? How did it make you feel? Because I know thinking about that helps me to realize this is not something I want to do.
It's not how I want to be.
It's not how I want to be as a parent or a teacher.
Right.
Okay, folks, we're going to let you go think about that, and we will catch you next time on the podcast.
Bye, peeps.
Bye, peeps.